away, right? Okay, welcome to the Town of Deerfield Select Board Board of Health Sewer Commissioners meeting for April 1st, 2026. The time is 6 p.m. This will be a hybrid meeting, both on Zoom and in the main meeting room at 8 Conway Street, South Deerfield. This meeting will be held in a hybrid fashion with the opportunity for both in-person attendance and remote participation. Please note that while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy of the public, the meeting or hearing will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in any specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. The meeting will be held in person in the main meeting room of the Deerfield Municipal Offices in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section. Anyone intending to record the meeting must identify themselves to the clerk and provide their name and address for the record. So I'll call the meeting to order. And first off, we have public comment. I'm not sure if we have any public. We do have public. I see online. Any comment from the public? We have nobody here, so. Oh, we have one coming in. You got any comments? No. All right. Anybody online have a comment they'd like to speak to? Seeing no hands, I guess we'll roll on. We do not have hearings or appearances. There's just an A here with nothing, so that's either a April Fool's joke or remove something.
Amy and I were talking about Passover earlier, and so we said we're holding a seat for Elijah right there.
Pass it over.
So you can pass over it.
Any select board reports or announcements? Been kind of uneventful week, really. So, I mean, we had a great meeting on was it Monday? Last Monday. It's been a week already since we met with the three towns, and I know that was publicized and all, but I just wanted to say I really enjoyed meeting with everybody. You know, sometimes you're like, what? You want to meet with 3 finance committees and 3 select boards in the same room? But it was really nice to just hear what our neighbors have to say, and we work so well regionally together, and it's exciting when we can, and like to continue doing that as much as we can. Anything on the 1888 building? Looking good over there. I saw some windows go in. And
yeah, they're approaching basically being finished inside the existing building.
Mm-hmm.
Their last items to do to pull the wiring for IT, etc., and then put the grids in everywhere and start installing the drop ceilings. They've got one thing that's been holding them up for months is they had to engineer earth resistant supports for the fire suppression system, and I think that's finally been resolved and it's being taken care of.
It happens often.
And we've awarded the contract, and Christopher's coordinated with the general contractor about electrical for the new addition.
Great.
And and all the windows are on site. They're just waiting for the actual flashing that's going to go between the bricks and the actual windows to be remanufactured. They were off by a centimeter or 2, so.
But that's enough. Yeah. I wanted to just talk a little bit about, and we don't have to do it now, but just a plug about the what do you call this, a dais? Just where the select board, planning board will sit. I don't know if we've ordered any furniture for that or have designed anything, but I would, when we were down at MMA, we talked about there's a jail program that makes kind of furniture, or maybe I know we're in a pretty good spot with that budget, but I've always, since I got elected here, hate sitting at this table with these. They never get washed. I mean, it's just really, we just need something that looks a little bit more historical as far as and important.
Yep. So we had a meeting with Mallory's a member of the team from Q and Riddle who's working on the furniture package. And she did, I think, touch on, the dais.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be nice.
So we can get you a copy of what that looked like.
I'd love to see that and
yeah.
kind of have 2 cents in on that
Yeah,
selection
absolutely.
to make sure it's going to hopefully be there for 50 years.
Yeah.
It just should look good. And
Yep. I know in the renderings, at least Greg is just reminding me it had the seal on it on
Good.
the sort of,
Yeah.
front part of it there, whatever you call that.
Yep.
And we also had some discussions about whether we should incorporate an L so
Yeah.
that, the
Yeah.
typical way we run these meetings is
Right.
I was gonna hope
3,
you were gonna
5, or
do that.
7 people up here and then the administrative staff on the side. So,
Right.
so there's still time to
Yeah.
get your R in.
Great. That'd be great. We should love to talk
Soon,
about
though.
that. Yes, very soon. Yeah. Want to do that. Okay, so we have a few discussion items. We have the Stillwater Bridge order of taking. These are permanent easements in, on, and over and under and along parcels of land owned by the Great River Hydro LLC. And these are, we had already done some takings. These are the second set of takings that we're doing for the Stillwater Bridge project. So I'll read the motion because it kind of captures all of that. Oh,
yeah, we can.
do you have some?
We can go back to that
Yeah,
if you
no,
want.
it's just the number 5.
I probably skipped right over it. Oh, yes, I did. Look at that. Well, we can stop there and go back. Anything for the Board of Health is, let's see Ned here, but is there any items we wanted to hit on?
He's going to deal with a tech issue. Sorry, what was that, Tor?
Anything for Board of Health? That we
Yeah.
wanted to
Oh,
hit?
I had just wanted to mention, because Ned couldn't be here tonight, but he just wanted to give the board the update that the air sensors that we had talked about have been ordered.
Oh, good.
So I believe one's going to be installed, possibly on one of these campus buildings. We weren't sure if we wanted to put it on this one necessarily, and also the highway garage, given that was kind of the epicenter of the issues we were hearing about. So
Oh, that's
hopefully,
great.
hopefully that'll give us some data and some sense of if something is amiss and what it is and what we need to do to address it.
And I think FERCog has a bunch around the valley too.
I did just see an email about what they have out there already.
Right.
Yep.
Yep, been fascinating to see that info. Okay, good. All right. So let's see. So I will read the motion for the Stillwater Bridge order takings, permanent easements. I hereby move the Select Board acquire by eminent domain for the necessary health and welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Deerfield for municipal purposes, more specifically for replacing the Stillwater Bridge on Upper Road as authorized by Article 13 of the Town of Deerfield Annual Town Meeting of April 28, 2025, that it further authorize the board's chair, Trevor D. McDaniel, to execute and enter into any and all documents necessary to effectuate the acquisition of the following property: easements in the parcels identified as E-1, E-2, E-3, D-S-1, D-1, S-1, and PUE-6 on a plan of land entitled Easement Plan of Land Upper Road over Deerfield River, Deerfield, Massachusetts, dated November 3rd, 2025, recorded in the Franklin County Register of Deeds in Plan Book 157, page 77, and that still further, the board award damages of said eminent domain takings in the total amount of $1,600 to the affected record owners of said land, the amount per record owner being specified in the aforementioned order of taking. May I have a second?
Second,
Thank you. All those in favor?
Blake
Any
Gilmore, aye.
discussion?
Tim Hilchey, aye.
Great. Trevor McDaniel, aye. I think that is it for that. Any other you have anything to add? That's pretty straightforward.
No, yeah, that's the remainder of the takings of Stillwater Bridge. There are a couple easements that are just temporary that will be, we're just going to be basically signing an agreement with the hydro company to undertake those.
Right.
And again, the project is hopefully going to be bid out this month.
Right. Sounds good.
Just want to recognize all the hard work that Christopher and the team did, because it's very complicated, a lot of legal mishigas to go through. So thank you very much.
Each individual parcel is, where was I now? Yeah. It's just, yeah. Great. So that's good. We do, review the draft annual town meeting warrant. Could do that. So I get, you've got a, initial warrant ready to go, or a beginning. Do you want to run through that?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Close.
you should have received a draft copy of the warrant and then also just a list of articles. At this point, there's still a number of tables that Holly's got to insert into, some of the financial articles, but the basic shape is there. So beyond the sort of pro forma articles, just to remind everyone, the first kind of, non-pro forma article is Article 4, which just has to do with snow and ice removal. Right now, I think the number that Holly has put out there is 130,000. Some of that is going to be hopefully covered by, savings from not having 2 full-time Smith vocational students this year. And then some portion of that may have to be free cash. So
Right.
still looking at that.
Okay.
Article 5 is the omnibus budget,
Yep.
which still obviously needs to be finalized. And then Article 6 is the proposed override for the South County Senior Center. Open to tweaking the language here. Currently, we have it pretty specific to 112 Amherst Road. We can talk about exactly how that should work.
Yeah.
And then Article 7 is the authorization for the long-term lease. So
Can we just talk about 6 real quick?
yeah, absolutely.
Does it need to say 112? I mean, I kind of feel like I want people to vote on that. Or, the other part of me also feels like if that doesn't pass in other towns, maybe we'll have to come back at it. But it would be nice to have it just say for senior services, or a lease or something of a building, because we could use that for, for this space, and maybe we'll have to deal with that later too. Just thinking out loud, I don't know how specific it has to be. And then the other thought I had was that, and we talked about this a lot in the meeting the other night, but if we did the SCEMS article, oh, you don't have the one?
No,
Maybe I got 2 copies?
but it's not here now. Yeah. Well, I'm trying to figure out
disappeared.
who's playing tricks on me.
Right, it's April
After all.
Day, yeah. I was thinking, if we did the SCEMS building specifically, SCEMS move into the thing, that would free up more than enough money to do. We wouldn't need an override for anything else. I mean, even though you want it specifically for that, but I don't know, just a thought. So nobody wants to talk about that. So I'm going to move on. My question was how specific that Article 6 had to be.
Yeah, there's some latitude, and it really ranges. You can have articles that are as broad as, they just say for general operating budget, or
Right.
you can go down to the level of the department or more specific than that. And the crucial thing is just that the language doesn't kind of influence people one way or another.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to change it, but I'd love to hear from the board on, what the kind of consensus is on what that language ought to be.
Tim, your feeling was if we were going to do any vote, you'd want to do the SCEMS vote as well at the same time. I think I heard that from you.
Well, I mean, at the moment, we have to close the warrant next week. But yeah, I basically feel that what Margaret Nardowicz of the Finance Committee suggested was that we give people the opportunity to vote on the 112 property, and how that gets written, and we need to give instruction to the lawyer so she can do it correctly.
Correct.
My feeling is that we have the ability to deliver a budget that doesn't require an override, and if we want to, that doesn't include moving to 112.
Correct.
But if we do that, we give the opportunity for the citizens to decide to override, then that's the way I understood Lisa Mead, our town council, to this is that you have a second article, or I don't know exactly where it would be, right after the regular budget vote, that you then take up and say, authorize the town to override for the purpose of X. And I feel like it would be nice to correct the structural defect that is the SCEMS budget, because right now we don't raise and appropriate tax money to pay for public safety function.
Right.
We rely on the fact that we might have free cash to pay for it.
Right.
And we've been fortunate.
Yeah.
But it's an enterprise fund, and it earns some money, but not enough to support the service. And if we came to a year where there wasn't 2 dining halls being built and we got large, building fees associated with that there will be a moment when we don't have money to pay for that.
Or if we have a recession and local receipts are way low.
Or, we have another COVID and,
Yeah.
the whole public health system blows up.
Yeah.
And health insurance continues to rise at a ridiculous rate. And we're required to pay for those things. So, I just want to make sure there's room in the tax levy to
Correct.
support this, but that's just me.
I kind of feel that way too. And we don't have an article for that at this specific moment, correct? For SCEMS.
We do
we
actually
do.
later in this. Yeah.
Great. Okay, good. So as long as you have it, then we can
Yep.
talk about how it.
So I think maybe we'll go through this. I'll flag a few that we might want to tweak language on.
Perfect.
And
Sounds good.
there. So Article 6 is that proposed override for just the South County Senior Center. Article 7 is the authorization of a long-term lease. I will again confirm with council that we need to have that article. I know it was a request from Jennifer just to have it because
Sure.
that's
Yep.
generally hard to go above 3 years for leases. And then Article 8 is the regular SCEMS budget, and then the override is Article 9 for that budget. Currently plugged in 400,000 there. That is just
Okay.
based on how much free cash we're throwing at it for their assessment each year. Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Based on the last 3 years, I think.
Yep.
And then Article 10 is also SCEMS related. So this was a request from Chief Sparks to establish an EMS capital stabilization fund. I just mentioned there may not be funds this time around to actually seed it. Might have to wait until the fall to put some retained earnings in it. But the idea is to kind of slowly build it up over time. And then when you do have the need for an ambulance or other capital purchase, those funds will be there.
Christopher, they were talking about replacing the ambulances, like one ambulance every 3 years. Can they get that fund up to that level where they can go out and get an ambulance, or is that going to be?
Yeah, it's a question. It kind of depends on what they have for retained earnings, because the more they have retained earnings, the more they can build it up.
Got it.
And then certainly they've also used retained earnings to offset their operational budget. So it's hard to say whether or not they'll be able to build it up fast enough to make that 3-year purchase timeline. But
that was our plan when we started the whole thing, is that they would build up this retained earnings and then get a thing, and then in 3 years get a thing. But
So the most recent discussion is we already have money set aside for the ambulance that we ordered 2.5 years ago. That's been held by Brenda and now Holly in a separate account, I believe. And that's supposed to come in June, July, August, and then, get put into service probably in FY27. But and then to push out for 4 years the next time, so that you get on a 3-year cycle after that, because we'll have 2 brand new frontline vehicles.
Yep.
And we'll be able to decommission the oldest vehicle, and then 4 years when we'll have that 4-year period to build up another 350 or 60 or 70,000 in the capital stabilization fund. Having the capital stabilization fund will make it impossible for the BOO or the towns to vote to spend retained earnings to lower their,
Right.
so that the money will be there when we need to buy medical equipment and
Yep.
ambulances.
Yep.
It's a good idea.
It is.
Prevent us from, playing fast and loose with the
Right.
budget.
Right, we're tying our own hands here so that when we have those capital needs, we have the funds on hand to do it.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Article 11 is just the sewer enterprise fund.
Yep.
Article 12 is this current year capital improvement plan, given that we have a couple items that are, the CIPC has so far voted that would need to be purchased this year. So those will happen before June 30th is the plan if that's adopted.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next article, Article 13, is the FY27 capital plan, which is, of course, still in
Right.
development by CIPC. Article 14 is Community Preservation Fund. And Article 15 is the Conservation Fund. And I know we have Julie Caswell here online. I know there were some board members with questions about this proposal. So I don't know if we want to have that discussion now or
Sure.
get through the rest of them first, but
We could, I guess would hear Julie now, I think. I mean, if she has anything to add.
yeah, I hope she didn't drop off, but
Nope, she's there.
I'm
Julie.
here.
Welcome.
Hello, good evening. From Michigan.
Oh, Michigan.
I'm in Michigan. So I just, I'm curious whether the select board would like me to make some comments on this proposal or if it's mainly questions that we have at this point.
Did any of the members have any questions? I mean, I know we had one out to our attorney about, does it need to go before CIPC? And we also, there may be an article on here about adjusting the CIPC bylaws on other things. We could always adjust it if we find from the attorney we have to do that or should do that, decide to do that. Do you have any?
Yeah,
questions on
is there a reason to come directly to you, an urgency that as far as being able to purchase something, land or whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, or can it go through the process? I understand that, that the Conservation Commission does deal with issues with, land that comes up and it's available and that sort of thing. That could be wetland or that sort of thing. But I'm just wondering the urgency that we put that money into a situation where the Conservation Commission is running with it.
Yeah, so the current way that conservation and open space, funding has been done in the town is through individual project or parcel applications to the Community Preservation Fund. And that fund works generally on an annual basis. So if there are lands that come up, for example, land that was coming out of Chapter 61, within the annual cycle, the Conservation Fund will allow the money to be available for the Conservation Fund to consider acquisition outside of that annual cycle that the money coming out of the Community Preservation Fund is under. And this would allow a flexibility and a new tool for the town to work on open space. It could be parcels of land or it could be potentially expenditures that support open space initiatives like a survey, or trail easements are another possibility. So the Community Preservation Committee looked very closely at the rules, the state rules on how CPC money can be spent in a conservation fund and wrote the letter of agreement, grant letter of agreement for this potential grant. And the idea is it's flexible, and we have had instances, for example, with agricultural preservation applications where the alignment with the grant cycle has not worked out well. And in the end, things get done, but it doesn't allow the flexibility to really react and have a ongoing active conservation fund process. And that is what this fund would allow to happen. Right now, the Conservation Commission does not have any land that is under its jurisdiction. And so this would increase the range of open space work that the Conservation Commission would be able to be working on.
Julie, am I correct in my understanding that when a person wants to take Chapter 61 land out of the program, that there's a specified period of time in which the town has first right of refusal to acquire the property? Or is
That's
that
correct? That's correct.
And that would be one of the reasons why you might, I don't know what land we would want to acquire, but it would give us a mechanism for you to open space or whomever to come to us and say, this is critical because it gives an access point to the Deerfield River, and maybe we can now put a boat dock in or whatever, and then bring it to the select board within the period of time when we have the right of refusal and still have a funding mechanism that we could tap into.
Yes, that's the intent.
Thank you.
Would you be, Julie, would you be speaking to the Open Space Committee with this as well? Are they a part of this procedure? Or, because I heard a lot about open space, and I was just wondering.
Thank you. That's I meant to touch on that. So the actual proposal for the Conservation Commission or for the Conservation Fund was a joint. So I'm speaking of the funding proposal to the Community Preservation Committee was a joint proposal made last fall by the Conservation Commission and the Open Space Committee. So both the Conservation Commission and the Open Space Committee have passed motions in their meetings in support of having a conservation fund, and have been working together on the language on how the fund could be spent and then how the fund would actually operate. And then this proposal went to the Community Preservation Committee and has been reviewed in the committee, I think at least 3 separate meetings. Because it's a new effort, the CPC was very, I think, very diligent in looking at what would the funding mechanisms be, the sort of the regulatory oversight of the funding, to be sure that the CPC funding was being spent on open space projects that are approved and are legal under the CPC Act, but also that they reflect the views of the Deerfield Community Preservation Committee about how CPC money should be spent for open space. So that process resulted in an 8-0 unanimous support by the CPC of the Conservation Fund, subject to the grant agreement letter that was worked on by the Conservation Commission, the Open Space Committee, and the CPC.
Thank you.
So I guess my only hesitation is the dollar. I guess the dollar amount. I understand the concept of it. I'm not again, it depends on the space, the parcel of lands that we're interested in. And I think I got assurance from you that it was trailheads, that kind of thing, that you were easements or ability to kind of have access to trails. And it wasn't really looking at taking buildable land in town because we don't have enough of it. We have tons of protected land and not enough area for growth. But I understand that you aren't planning to kind of take buildable lots, that kind of thing. So, and then, but I wonder if is 100,000 going to deplete more of the fund, the general fund, or would another number be more accurate or more reasonable? I don't know. Just a thought.
Aren't we talking about CPC money funding this? So it's not going to come from the general fund?
I meant the general fund of CPC, right? Yeah, not like the money goes into a pot. There's more of a general fund of that money, and then the others go out, like a percentage goes out to each one. But
yes. So on the 2 points, we are focused on land that is not buildable lots, but on land that is, for example, on the Pecumtuck Ridge Trail and in other potentially other spots around town that would be available for open space. We are always looking at open space in conjunction with, they're not always together, but in conjunction with passive recreational opportunities. So trails and river access, for example. The $100,000 would be coming out of the, the whole CPC funding, and it's a substantial amount of money, but it is not absorbing a huge percentage or even a big percentage of the funds that are in that are in the CPC fund at this point. And it's always the case that almost all the time that the amount of money that is spent on a specific category, for example, historic or open space or housing, that percentage, that amount is almost always larger than the actual tagged amount of money for that specific category, because the tagged amount of money is 10% or it's quite small. And that spending is always coming, most of that spending on projects is really usually coming out of the general to be used for any kind of project part of the fund.
okay, makes sense. All right, I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? Well, thank you, Julie. Appreciate the feedback and advocacy.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you, Julie.
So then moving on in the
Sure.
Yeah.
So the next couple articles, 16 and 17, are just placeholders for two ongoing public works projects we have, Elm Street and Stillwater Bridge. We may peel those off, once we actually close the warrant. And then Article 18 is the aforementioned changes to the capital improvement planning bylaw that we have. Just a couple of minor changes on this one. Some wordsmithing around the start of the article, but the main thing was, currently our treasurer collector is supposed to be a member of the committee. I think I mentioned to CIPC, I've never made Sarah go to that committee. Right. So instead of having them actually be a member of the committee, we're just saying the treasurer and accountant will be available to consult with the committee as requested. And that's really how it's worked in practice. And then similarly, in practice, even though, the bylaw says that you really can't do capital requests in the fall at special town meetings, we often do. It often makes good sense given that you're trying to get ready for spring construction season, et cetera. So just, again, tweaking the article to change it so it's a little more open to that possibility, which, again, is sort of in line with current practice. And then beyond that is, we did have an article that our electrical inspector had recommended. We have since gotten about 6 citizen petitions. So speaking with him about pulling that back for the time being, just because it is going to be a long meeting, it appears, without that additional article there. So, and just real quick, again, these are citizen petitions filed by citizens. We have Article 19 is a senior property tax work-off program.
Yep.
I think Chris Goudreau from the Senior Center did a little presentation for this board and the Finance Committee over the winter about that program. Article 20, it'll be familiar to most folks. It's the stretch energy code or super stretch energy code, if you want to call it that, specialized energy code being implemented in Deerfield. And Article 21, similarly, is the zero emission first vehicle policy, which I think we'll have a chance to chat about tonight as well.
Yep.
And then Article 22 would actually rescind the stretch code in the town of Deerfield. Article 23 is basically to place a moratorium on questions that have come before town meeting that have been defeated. So you'd have to essentially wait 2 years before bringing the same question back to town meeting. And then the last one has to do with the clickers, the electronic vote tabulators, and purchasing some and then using them at town meeting to track voting. So that is currently what we have in terms of articles on the warrant.
And Lisa will look at these, I assume, too, and just
Oh,
see if-
absolutely, yep.
even if 23 is able to be on there, that might not even be quite legal to do.
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm not certain
Okay.
at this point.
And on citizens petitions, are they usually phrased to see if the select board will act on, or is that
It just depends on the
some things
given
need that and some don't?
petition. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I would just mention, we kind of received the citizen petition in whatever form people filled it out in. Occasionally it's a little incomplete and messy. And then, I will work with Dan, our moderator, and Lisa, our town council, to craft a sample motion that we can give to the petitioners so that they can make sure if we're going to do it right. So
Yeah, like 22, it just says remove it, but there's nothing to add it, put back in its place.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yep. Okay. All right. That sounds good. Thank you for that. And then you did have a list of who was going to do what at one point. We could
Yeah, and
clean
I don't
that
know
up
if
after.
a column
Oh,
got
maybe it cut off the.
it
probably
might
just
have,
cut off.
yeah.
That's fine. Okay. Yep. Deal with that later. Good. So we have, next item is to review and vote on a contract amendment with Kuhn Riddle Architects in the amount of $10,000. Did we do this already, or is this?
This is a second contract amendment. So
Okay.
we amended the contract back in the fall.
Yep.
We added, I think, 55,000 to their contract. This time around, just adding 10,000.
Okay.
We had to make some adjustments to some adjustments to the select board suite in the new building.
Well, then by all means.
That's right. Can you even vote on this? Is that a
Yeah.
conflict? I don't.
Oh, exactly.
No, but
All right.
in all seriousness, yeah. So we did have some discussions, and essentially, there's going to have to be an additional wall, and because of that, they have to kind of redesign some HVAC and electrical.
This is all
and
Greg's fault.
and some structural items. So anyway, well worth
right.
it.
Yeah.
And they've been great partners thus far.
For sure. So I move the select board approve a contract amendment with Kuhn Riddle Architect in the amount of $10,000 for additional design services related to the 1888 building, and authorize the chair to execute the amendment on behalf of the town.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I just wanted to add that we would luckily avoid the need for a sprinkler head in Greg's office. I think he's a cool customer and no fire risk. So that's quite expensive if you have to do that.
A
So,
picture where his head looked kind of hot. Maybe didn't need to cool him down a little.
all right.
All those in favor?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchey, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye. Thank you. Let's see the next item. Oh, just to mention, wanted to announce that that a memorandum of agreement with the United Public Service Employee Union Local 424M, Massachusetts Division of 118 of the Deerfield Highway Department for collective bargaining successor agreement to cover the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028 has been approved and all set. And thank everybody, Chris and our attorneys, everyone involved in that long process to see it come to an end. So happy to have that over with. I guess the next item is a zero emission vehicle policy to talk about. And there has been a little confusion around this. Do we have one or don't we have one?
Yeah, so I think in your packets you should have a copy of the policy that was brought forward at special town meeting in the fall, and has also been included on as a citizen petition on this warrant.
And you verified that there was some confusion among the select board members about which of the three articles that were special citizens petitions passed. And can you just refresh our memory about which one passed and which didn't?
Yeah, and I'm just pulling up the minutes.
Yeah.
But just confirming, I believe that of the three articles having to do with climate and energy, the super stretch code did not pass, the EV policy did not pass, and it was the decarbonization article resolution that did pass.
I had those mixed up then.
Yeah, and so in reviewing we have on the books now a policy from 2011 when we became a green community that was called the fuel efficient vehicle policy, and it was back before EV really became the thing that it is today.
Mm-hmm.
The state put forward this zero emission vehicle first policy, which doesn't say that you have to buy an electric vehicle, but it's the successor to the fuel efficient vehicle policy, which the select board and the finance committee both supported and recommended last year. And by adopting it, we would then become eligible again for the state's rebate programs around infrastructure for charging, rebates for specific types of vehicle for fleet vehicles. It doesn't mean that there's anything pending at the moment, but it just seemed to me to make sense that we just go ahead and adopt this policy. My recollection is that the vote was 2 votes from approval. And it'll certainly save a lot of discussion at what's facing to be a long meeting. Not that that's a real reason for doing this.
Yeah.
But for example, we bought, the SCEMS purchased a Mach-E electric vehicle to act as their ambulance interceptor vehicle so that they could go to the aid of community like Conway that doesn't have paramedics on their ambulances. And we would have been eligible for a rebate on that vehicle. And the state policy, did you summarize that in the package? Yeah. Where we can get either Eversource or the state to pay to install EV chargers as part of the rebate program that the state is trying to encourage whenever practicable the adoption of zero emission vehicles. But our police fleet uses hybrid electric vehicles, and in the early days of the green community grants, we did get rebates. I checked with the chief. We did get rebates for the vehicles as they were being adopted. I think that hasn't happened recently, but it would be possible that if I don't know in the future when this is going to happen, but if an electric vehicle that had a larger range met the police department's specifications, because they have a lot of electronics, and Blake would know this better than I do, that keep their computers active and et cetera.
Well, and the other part of it is that there's a lot of times they're in a standing position where they're at an accident scene. They could be there for 4 or 5 hours with everything running. and the vehicle's not moving. So, I mean, it's just basically, even though you have it, you're expending the energy while you're on patrol, but even when you're stopped, a lot of times you may be expending energy
Right.
just sitting there.
And yeah, that's why I think that hasn't become a topic of consideration, but the HEVs I know are something that the chief buys all the time.
Yeah.
And so that would be an element. Also, the DPW or any other agency that we had, if they had a need for a light or a medium duty pickup truck that would suit their needs, because they don't use it that often, but obviously wouldn't work for snow plowing equipment.
Mm-hmm.
There are no Freightliner EVs that would accommodate all the,
Unfortunately.
yeah. And so it's really just to be eligible for whatever
Comes down the road.
rebate, state rebates, and if the federal government changes its policies again in 2 or 3 years, be eligible for those again. So
I would feel more comfortable like adopting this article as a select board article to put on the warrant, because it didn't pass. I know it was very close, but I would not feel comfortable just adopting it without, it didn't pass at annual town meeting and then select board just adopts it anyways. But I do think, since we all agreed with it and finance committee agreed with it, that we put it on the as a select board endorsed and finance committee endorsed article instead of a citizen's petition. Because
yeah,
think
I
it
guess
comes
that's
with
one way
more
we could
weight.
do it, but the bottom line is that this is a policy that probably we should have just voted on. But I don't. We all know how the town meetings work.
Mhm.
If somebody's worked up about something, they come and they vote. And it happened to be 2 more people were worked up about the EV policy. I think they were really worked up about specialized code, and they voted
Correct.
against most of everything that
Right.
seemed to be related.
Right.
Whereas this is a policy that we're basically potentially losing money that we could save the town, because we don't have the ability to qualify under the current policy, because Green Communities has moved on. So I would be in favor of discussing. Let's vote this tonight.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of voting it tonight without further discussion. Or
How do you feel, Blake?
Same with me. I'd rather have. Get a
Hey,
little bit more.
let's take a week and think about it.
What's that?
Let's take a week and think about it.
Okay.
all right. Okay. Let's see what else we got. We have appointment of Joshua Reynolds to the Conservation Commission on recommendation of the commission chair. I did see that email going around that he, Pete Law had gone through and evaluated past and present applications and felt Joshua Reynolds met the board.
Yeah, and he had quite a few folks who were interested. I believe Josh has some background with like trail work and
Yeah.
trustees of the reservation.
Great.
Got to meet him briefly personally, so he
Okay.
seems like a great guy.
So I move that the select board appoint Joshua Reynolds to the Conservation Commission as recommended by the chair of the commission for the term ending June 30th, 2027.
Second,
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
Chair McDaniel, aye. And then we have a resignation of Joshua Sparks from the position of South County SCEMS, effective June 25th. So I move the select board accept the resignation of Joshua Sparks from the position of South County Emergency Medical Services SCEMS Director, effective Monday, June 22nd, 2026, with appreciation for his service to the town and to the region. Do we have a Second.
Second,
I'd just like to thank Joshua for his dedication to South County and our region. I think he's brought fresh ideas and a new look at kind of I think since I was on the board, when it was kind of starting the building space, and I know Zoe had been in the position a long time, so I learned a lot from Zoe, and then Joshua definitely brought a different look at it and opened my eyes up to different ways of funding it and running it and staffing it, and I think he did a great job, and very, very sad to see him go, but I understand that there are many reasons why people stay and why they go, so just thank him for his service. Did we vote it already? All those in favor?
Blake Gilmore, aye.
Tim Hilchey, aye.
Trevor McDaniel, aye. Okay, and then I don't have anything else. Updates from you guys? Anything going on?
Yeah, I would just briefly remind folks of the calendar because it's going to be a busy next few weeks. So on the 6th, we have a joint meeting with finance to further discuss the budget and likely the proposed override questions. April 8th, we've got a regular select board meeting. We'll be closing the warrant at that meeting in accordance with our bylaws. And then April 13th, assuming this body wants to move forward with any override questions, that'll be the last possible day for the board to actually vote those onto the election ballot. And those would have to, of course, be approved by town meeting on May 11th and then voted on by the electorate on May 19th. So that's kind of the calendar we've got for the next 6 to 8 weeks. So,
Thank you.
and just wanted to see if the board had any questions on ongoing projects at this time.
No, I did see one other thing to sign here, and that I wanted to
Oh, yeah.
in the signature
Yes.
package. Yes. So I'm glad we didn't miss this. So this is a resolution for the Deerfield Lions Club. Are you here for the Lions Club? Oh, do you have other things to? Oh, please come up and have a seat. Come on up. You just got to speak it into the mic. Yeah, have a seat. Yeah, come on up. No,
That's all right.
That's okay. No, we got time. No worries. I saw you sitting there, but I didn't know.
I do want to do a quick time check. We have 8 minutes until we've got to reconvene our hearing.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yep,
Yep.
sure. We'll be quick. Thank you.
Just here to express,
Can you just identify
Oh,
yourself?
yeah, just say who you are and
we're here to express some. Miranda Kaduki, I'm a resident here in Deerfield.
Welcome.
Parent to 2 children, one at DES, one at Frontier. This is my daughter Ira. who,
hi, Aura.
Hi.
Welcome.
Was really amped to come make this comment because we have some real grave concerns about the position that's being considered to be cut at Frontier Regional of the librarian.
Okay.
I understand that this is not the decision-making body, but I do think that it needs some examination from everybody throughout the town. I recognize that tough cuts need to be made.
Mhm.
That's always the case. I don't know that everybody who's in any kind of hubbub about that position being cut truly knows where to go for information regarding what's on the chopping block.
Okay.
And I do think it would be helpful for this town to maybe have some input directly to the superintendent, but to anyone else who's making this decision. Just to state, I think a librarian is someone in a school that serves every member of the school. You don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be an artist. You don't have to be an academic. The librarian is really one of the few positions that truly serves every student, no matter what they're in for,
Yeah.
how good they are at academics. They also serve the entire staff, helping to curate literature for certain, helping to set aside and help guide curriculums for teachers that are already strapped for time and resource. And someone I noted really brought up at this day and age, when everything is going to technology and AI, it's more important than ever that students know how to research, how to find what they need. It's no longer about the Dewey Decimal System,
Mhm.
but there's so much more that a librarian offers to a community, an academic librarian who's there with the students and with the staff. It knows the culture, it knows the needs. I just think this would be a gem of a resource if we were to let it go. And I'm hoping to broaden the idea of this to the whole town, because I think a lot of people don't even really realize that.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, I really
I'd like to
appreciate.
have
Oh, of course.
Ira,
Yeah.
who is,
Hey, Ira.
you can introduce.
Can you hear me? Or?
Yes, we can. Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm an 8th grader at Frontier Regional School. I just want to say that.
Okay.
I would like to point out something else about the librarian being cut. If Zoe Keenan, or Miss Keenan, as I know her, is cut from the librarian position, I know that multiple other learning resources from that are being funded kind of by the school and by the librarian are going to be cut, including a reading program that I know multiple people use. I think it's called like Sora. It's a digital reading thing.
Okay.
And I know that if like the librarian gets cut, then other fundings for like the library would kind of get cut. I know I'm repeating myself here. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No, that's fine. It's making good points. Thank you.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like if the Sora reading website gets cut, then some students might not have access to like books at home. Because
Okay.
I know in some cases, or I know when you check out a book from the library, you are allowed to take it home, but some students may not have the right or what I don't know what I'm trying to, or no, I do know. I'm so sorry.
It's fine.
It's quite all
Take
right.
your
Like
time. Get your
access or
thoughts together.
subscription to that? If they don't have a subscription?
It gives them like better access to the things, like the books, and along with that, like on that website, there's a option to help students who have dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that in like actual books, there's not an option just to like turn it to a font that's more dyslexic friendly. So I know that is also something that's quite helpful to students who may
Yeah.
struggle with that.
Sure.
And more so about like Miss Keenan and whatnot, she is like an amazing figure for the school. Like she's like very helpful towards everyone, very kind. I'm really sorry, I'm bad at explaining.
You're fine.
You're doing a great job.
You're doing a
Don't
great
worry about
job.
it.
Most people won't ever come, so I'm so glad you're here.
That at least for the DC trip that happened for 8th graders recently
Yeah.
at Frontier, like Miss Keenan personally helped me a lot when I was struggling during the trip because
Yeah.
I'm not the most like mobile person or
Mhm.
and like sometimes she encouraged me a little bit and it was quite nice.
Good.
So.
That's great. Great to hear.
Oh yeah, and along with that, she helps she helps students find and pick up like book series that they may not have like known about before.
Yeah.
Like I know once I told her, oh yeah, I like graphic novels, so she was like, oh, here's the series I like, that's the graphic novel, and I got really into the series.
Yep.
So
Good.
she's also helpful in that way.
Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
A personal friend of mine is a librarian, no longer in a school district because she was in a very local school district very recently north of us that culminates like 4 elementary schools and a high school. They cut their budget. They pulled out librarians for individual schools kind of one by one, just
Mhm.
picking away at the pie. And when she was hired on as the librarian for all of those schools. That said, she got 1 day a week each at every school. And she just said it's completely unsustainable. Kids are showing up with her was elementary and high school, but they're showing up to do a project on farm animals in elementary school, and there's no resources out for these kids. And they waste more time during their academic time doing what a librarian would have already had prepped for them.
Yeah.
And she inevitably left that position because she wasn't able to serve all of the students the way she felt they should. I just think it's a resource we need to not let go of.
Thank you. What was your name again? Was
Miranda Kaduki, Kudukey.
Thank you.
And this is Ira, Aiyra, Kaduki.
Was it what?
Aiyra.
Great.
Ira.
So thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
for
Yeah,
coming.
thank you very much for
Thank you
coming.
for the
Yeah, thank
information.
you for your comments. Yep, appreciate it. Okay. I think it is 7 o'clock, so,
Yeah, and we'll have to adjourn. We've got a separate hearing.
so
to
we'll
start.
adjourn the
Yeah.
select board meeting. So I'll make a motion to adjourn the select board meeting.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Janucci, aye.
Trevor
Blake
McDaniel,
Gill.
aye. Yep.
Blake Gilmore. aye.
Great, thank you. All right. So, I will read this hearing again. All right.
Yeah, we're just gonna.
I'll wait for you to get the thing going. Great.
You might want to talk